So we are joined from Jackson by the wonderful, lovely Brenda Myers. We thank you so much for joining us today. This is our entrepreneurship class. I got a room full here with me at Velma Jackson High School, and we're recording this for all of our friends in Madison County schools, Madison Central, Ridgeland High School, Germantown High School, the Academic Options Center, and our YouTube channel. So thank you so much for taking some time for us today.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys.
Yeah, and I know you have several businesses and a magazine and all types of things that you do. But just give us a little background of your education and the things you've done to get to this point.
Absolutely. My business is Journey Insurance Solutions. I started Journey Insurance Solutions in 2009. That was the downturn of the economy. I don't know if, well, I'm sure you remember, I'm sure the students may not, but that was when the economy crashed in 2009. I was working for one of the largest law firms in the state of Mississippi as a legal assistant slash paralegal. And when that happened, I decided that I didn't want to work for anyone else. So I decided to take my severance money and start my own business. And that's what I did. And once I did that, I decided to offer leadership skills, leadership services to other individuals who wanted to learn about starting their own businesses. So I created Entrepreneurs Academy, which is an online school that helps individuals who want to start their own businesses. And after that, I started a nonprofit, which is Entrepreneurs Academy 101 Foundation, which offers training for high school students. So what I do is I go into the high schools and I talk to classes such as this, to students who want to get into entrepreneurship and own their own businesses. So this is where I am now. I speak to groups and organizations all over to talk about entrepreneurship, because entrepreneurship now is, it's really, really big. It's actually just a different way of earning a living. It's so different from the 9 to 5. And young people now actually are really earning money while they're in school, with social media and all the things, they're earning money now. So, yeah, and that's where I am. So I have the magazine that I created, Boss to Boss magazine, which is geared toward female entrepreneurs. And I've written a couple of books. One is Becoming an Entrepreneur, Learn How to Start to Grow Your Own Business. And then there's another book, it's called The Productive Entrepreneur, which teaches you how to be productive at becoming an entrepreneur.
Yeah, and I don't want to take too much away from the presentation that I know that you want to go by, but one thing I always talk about with high school kids is I have so many kids. I've been at Belma Jackson 10 years now, and I've lost count of the amount of kids that said I want to be an entrepreneur because I want to be my own boss. I don't want to work for anybody else, and that's great, and we encourage that. And we have had several alums that have started their own business, even some while they were in this class,
Mm-hmm.
and go and even if they keep the 9 to 5, they still have their business they run. But all anybody sees is the glamorous social media side and posting the pictures. But they don't think about any of the time. They don't think about any of the planning, and they don't think about any of the finances involved in this. So, what is the reality of it? Because obviously the younger side sees the TikTok side, but they
Mm-hmm.
don't see the planning and financial side.
So let me tell you my story. When I started the business, I got my $50, which is what it costs to get an LLC. So I got my $50. I went down to the Secretary of State's office, which is where you get your LLC. And what that means is I had a name of my business. I took it to the Secretary of State's office. I paid the $50, and that means that I had a name of my company on file. So I felt like I was in there. I had my business. I owned my own business. My chest was poked out. I was like, wow, I'm in there. But reality soon hit me. It was like, okay, now what? So the light bill started coming in. I had a brick and mortar office I had to pay, rent for that, and copy paper, all of the expenses that go along with having a business, even a post office box, all of those things, so you have to have a plan for having. You can't just say, I'm going to own my own business. I'm going to go down and I'm going to get LLC. No, that's the easy part. The hard part is mapping out your foundation for your business. So you have to take time to do all these things. And planning is part of the whole process. So you have to take the time to do the work, to do the research, to do all of the things that go along with, starting a business. But yeah, you do see all of the glitz and the glamour and all of the, all the people that are looking the part on social media, but you don't know the backstory. You don't know what they had to go through or are still going through, at the time. They're showing you the fun part. They're showing you the made it side, but they're not showing you the journey. So,
Yeah. And something we're about to start talking about in here is competition because every business, no matter what it is, has competition. People always have to, people always have a choice of where to spend their money. And one thing, cliche I say a lot, and I know they get sick of this, is the entrepreneur needs the customer more than the customer needs the entrepreneur. So it can't just be about what you like. It can't just be about what your friends like. You've got to reach a market and you've got to reach a customer.
absolutely. And by that, you have to find what your niche is, and then you have to find your market for it. Because everybody's not going to like the little purple hoodie with the gold writing on it. You know what I mean? So exactly, you have to find you have to find the people and cater to those people. So if you want to be successful in what your product is, you have to cater to those people. So if not, you'll have like a closet full of widgets that nobody wants. So you have to know what you're doing and who you're marketing to. So you have to be smart about it. And by that, I mean, do your homework. And even if someone else is selling the same product that you're selling, you have to make yours just a little bit better. You have to do something about your product that make them want your product as opposed to the person that's next to you that's selling the same thing. So something about yours have to be a little bit more admirable next to you.
Yeah, and that's a great segue because like I said, we've had several students and several alums that have started their own business, whether it be doing hair or selling lashes or what have you. And a
Mhm.
lot of them, and I see this mistake a lot with young entrepreneurs. I immediately see what they're doing, and some of them have a great idea, but then I see their price list, and I'll
Mhm.
immediately tell them, "You're not charging enough," and
Yeah,
it's not even close because you have to get out of that 15, 16-year-old mindset. You can't say, well, that's high. I'm not paying that. Well, if you can offer a good enough service or a good enough product, somebody will.
right. And sometimes we underprice ourselves out of business, and then sometimes we can overprice ourselves out of business. So it's about the mindset. Cheaper is not always better, and more expensive is not always better. So it's about the quality of the product and how you value your product, and your customers are going to see that as well. So you can have a terrible product and you overprice it, and then your customer's going to buy it, and then it's going to be awful. And what are they going to do? They're going to give it reviews, and they're going to take to social media, and social media is going to give it an awful review, and therefore you're going to be out of business because oversold your product, and it's just not good. So you don't put yourself in a position where you're trying to make it better than it is. So we have to be careful about that. So pricing is very, very important. So be careful to not undersell your product and to not over, sell your product as far as pricing is concerned.
Yeah, and one word I always use is perceived value. And we had a guest Tuesday that had a great idea that she made T-shirts, and what she was offering was with every time you buy one of these T-shirts, you get this free bracelet. Now,
Mhm.
again, it's a mental game. Customers be like, "Wow, I don't mind paying XYZ because I get something else on top of that."
Mhm.
Or even, and we've been guilty of it as consumers. A lot of times, free shipping on orders of XYZ or more. And there was one I've seen several times in my life where I've been like, "Man, I'm only $5 away from free shipping. Let me buy something else." And
Mhm.
then, even though I may have only saved $1 or $2, I still spent $7 or $8 more, which gave that company more sales.
Right, right. Yeah, you really do have to be careful about that. You have to like weigh the value of the free thing. You know what I'm saying? Is it really a free thing, or is it really giving the company more of my money? So it's a mental thing. You know, they play on sometimes I say play on your intelligence. Like, am I smart enough to know that am I really getting something free, or are they benefiting from, my ignorance, so to speak? So yeah, you really have to be careful. So,
Now, now tell us about a Journey Financial or Journey Insurance Solutions, because I think that's something that's very important and something that was not really pushed in rural Black communities for a long time.
mhm,
And I've said that for years, and those in here know that I'm a big believer in that rural Mississippi, especially rural Black Mississippi, was left behind on a lot of these on these a lot of these financial educational aspects. But
mhm.
the times are changing, resources have changed, technology has changed, so everybody can have access to that now. So tell us about Journey Insurance Solutions and why you felt the need to start that business.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for asking that question. That's a great question. So back in the day, I remember when I was little, when the gentleman, which was normally an older white gentleman, would come to the door on Saturday morning to pick up the envelope, which had the insurance payment in it. And your grandmother, your mother was paying for the insurance premium, which is probably, about maybe $10,000, $15,000 in life insurance coverage that she paid on forever. And, which was not nearly enough insurance coverage for what she needed. So I saw that as a child, and I realized that, you're right, we were an underserved community when it came to financial planning, and when it came to, securing our family's financial future. So I was introduced to insurance, when I was downsized in 2009. So my main focus was to make sure that I prepared my family for the future financially. So life insurance is definitely one way to do that. Not only does it, help you plan your family's financial needs as far as the funeral and the burial and all those things. But you can also pay off your family's home. You can secure your kids' college education. You can, set your children up for whatever your grandkids and all of those things. So we didn't understand those things. We just thought insurance was, just, well, I don't need that. That's not important. I need to pay this. I need to do that. But no, insurance is very, very important. And you can actually, you know, become very financially secure with a life insurance policy. So there's something that's very, very needed in the community, not just the African American community, but in the community, period, all communities. Yeah. So we need to do the research and find out, more what insurance means. It's just not, you know, for death benefit. There are so many more facets to life insurance. So, and it's a living benefit. It comes with living benefits. It comes with, like, if you have a chronic or critical illness while you're living, there's insurance to cover all of that. So there's so many things to life insurance that we need to look into.
Yeah, and just a small aside, even if somebody's not interested in entrepreneurship, having a life insurance for your family is extremely important, because I know that hashtag with a lot of other people in your field is always hashtag no more GoFundMe funerals. And it's sad enough when there's a tragedy in a community when somebody loses their life unexpectedly, but it's even more of a burden on the community when the community or the church has to raise money just to give that person the person a proper burial. So being aware of things like life insurance is so important for anybody, whether you want to be an entrepreneur or not, to have that available for your family. Or even, even as people grow older. I had a friend in college. Her dad lived to be 60 something years old, but had no life insurance. And when he passed away, they had no way to keep their house or anything, and they lost everything.
That's
And as sad as it was, it made it even more sad that they did not have that knowledge on how to continue living.
And the thing about that is, if you are a two-income family, and then one of those, individuals who was responsible for maintaining the lifestyle pass away, and their income goes away, then you have half of what you were dependent on to maintain your family's lifestyle. Now you're in a situation that, okay, did that person leave me financially secure? Or am I going to have to, downsize or move back in with my mom, or, take the kids out of the school or the lifestyle that they've grown accustomed to? Those are the things that we have to think about, even though we don't like to think about the fact that, our loved one is going to leave this world, and like you said, it could be unexpected. Things happen all the time, every day. If you listen to the news or watch the news, these things happen all the time. So we rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. So it's very, very important that we set our family up where, they will be ready for the unexpected. Yeah.
Big time.
Big.
Now, and along with that, because you talk about why it's so needed, and you have to sell people on that fact. Now, once we get done here today, we're going to be deciding our next topics for our next presentation we have next week.
Mhm.
And I can speak for all the other teachers that are going to see this later. These kids get so upset when I make them get up and present and talk about a company. And
Mhm.
honestly, it's the easiest grade they're ever going to have. It's not meant to be hard, but I'm my big goal is to get them comfortable selling, talking, communicating. Because first of all, if you're ever going to be an entrepreneur, you've got to know how to talk. I don't care what you're selling. You have to be able to speak to potential investors. You've got to be able to speak to potential customers. You've got to speak to potential employees. Everybody's got to be bought in on what you're doing. It's your money and your livelihood at stake. And then even if you don't want to be an entrepreneur, if you want to be a great employee, you've still got to be a great communicator and know how to sell things, know how to market things, know how to market yourself. So how important is it to learn those skills now in high school to be good at it as they move out of high school?
That, the sooner you learn the basics of communication, the better you will be in the long run. So, and the basics of communication, for high school students, even when you interact with your peers, I understand, everybody want to be cool with the what's up mans and all of that. But if you're in an entrepreneurship class, when you interact with your peers in the hall, instead of, giving dab or whatever, I don't know if they still say that, but instead of doing that, just speak to them in a professional manner, like, good morning, how are you today? Just be professional about it. And if you practice that, it becomes a habit, right? The more you do something, it becomes a habit. And then you will, feel more confident when you get into a room of people, that are more professional, or you get in front of people that you will have to, present or, speak, then you won't be afraid or intimidated. And the key is eye contact. You can't be looking down or looking away from or whatever when you're speaking to someone. So it can be a little intimidated to look someone in the eye and talk to them because you're nervous, and that's understandable. But when you practice looking in someone's eyes when you speak to them, the more comfortable you will get with doing so. So I suggest class, I know that you're listening to me, all the classes in Madison County or all over, practice these things on a daily basis, speaking correct English. I know we like talking slang and all that, but let's just speak correct English and, make contact, eye contact, as often as you can. And then it becomes a habit, and then you become more comfortable and more confident in doing so.
Yeah, because it goes back to needing the customer. Because if a customer has trouble understanding what you're trying to sell, they're going to buy it from somebody else. So
Exactly.
it really is so important in being able to write and being able to talk. And I know they get sick of it, and I know the other teachers have expressed the same frustration. And we're not asking people to be able to speak in front of 2,000 people. I've spoken in an auditorium in front of people because I'll talk to anybody, and everybody that knows me knows that.
Mhm.
But you don't have to be on that level of comfort, but being able to speak to customers, being able to talk to the few people that work for you is just so vital to be successful in business.
Absolutely. And sometimes the way we speak, we write the way that we speak, and young people, they write in acronyms. So we cannot write in acronyms. We have to write the words out, and you understand what I'm saying. So we have to learn how to communicate properly all the way around. It's key. It's vitally important that we learn how to do that.
Now, before I get to the students' questions, I've got some good ones. One thing that I hit on a lot, and I know they get sick of me talking about this, and me and you talked about this briefly when we were getting this scheduled, is I have almost all young men in here with me today.
Mhm.
I've got a room full of very intelligent, talented kids, but they're almost all young men, with one exception over here, and I like messing with her, but she's a good one. But one thing I hit on a lot is we need more successful black men in our community. In the last few years, and this, I said this is not an opinion. You can look up the numbers. Black women in the last few years have overtaken the largest percentage of education and business owners of the population of the United States, and that's not an opinion. That is a fact. But we need more black men to be successful in our community. So why is it so important for these young men I have here with me now to really understand that and realize that they are needed to be successful not only in education but in business?
Well, I mean, are still they are still a corner in our community. Need them to still step up. Women have and are making a difference in our community. As a matter of fact, the magazine Boston Boss magazine that I have coming out, this issue just up. The theme of it is the power of the woman. It is representing all of the strong women in the community. But there are some strong, powerful men that are in the magazine as well. But we definitely still need the men to, step up and take the lead. Just because women are showing their voice and standing up and being leaders, it does not mean that the men, have to take a back seat. No, we still need our African American Black male leaders. And my nonprofit, it has a mentorship part where we have male mentors that are going to offer mentorship to our male high school students to, help them with the process of becoming entrepreneurs. So to take leadership role. So we're going to make sure that we are raising up or creating or helping our young black men become strong male leaders. So we
Absolutely, and it's so needed. And also, we have a lot of Spanish speakers in our district, and a lot of first generation Americans in our district as well. And we
Mhm.
need them to step up as well because there's a place for them, and we want them to know that as well.
Right.
So there's never been a better time for everybody to really find their place in the community.
Absolutely.
But I do have some questions I want to get, and these are really good. I like these. This first one is Caden Williams.
Okay.
He's in 10th grade, one of our football players, a member of our powerlifting team. And he asked, what was your biggest motivation to go into business for yourself?
My biggest motivation was that I can call my own shots, to tell you the truth. I had been working for myself, working for this insurance company, I'm sorry, for the law firm for about 15, 20 years. And I felt like getting downsized was a blessing. Because I was tired of getting up every morning, going, in the office and doing the same thing. It had become monotonous to me. And I didn't feel like it was a bad thing. When I got called to the HR office to get the call to, be laid off at the time, I didn't feel bad about it. So, I felt like it was, the next move for me. And so to think about being able to be my own boss and, make my own schedule and be on my own time, that was to me was a good thing. So that was one of the pluses for me about starting my own business, to be able to run things the way that I wanted to run them.
Yeah, and that's such a pro of being an entrepreneur. But at the same time, it can be an obstacle because people say, I can make my own schedule, but then they don't manage their time wisely. And we've had other guests that I've talked about. Look, I had kids. I had a kid with a special need. I needed to take care of them. I had a mother who was sick. And you can fit those things in, but you've
Mhm.
got to learn how to balance things. It can't just be all relaxing and then work for 2 hours. There
Mhm.
is a lot of work involved. But if you can balance it wisely, you can have a great balance of family and work.
Well, and that's where the discipline come in at. You have to be disciplined and you have to be dedicated. It is so easy to say, well, I'll get up at 10, and I'll start at 10. And then it goes to, well, it's almost 12, it's lunchtime. So I'll start after lunch. And then next thing you know, it's 5 o'clock. Well, it's time to quit. So I'll do it tomorrow. So you really have to be cognizant of what you're doing throughout your day. And the way that I do it is I still treat it as a 9 to 5, So you have to have a plan of how you're going to do your day, and you still have to work it as if you are going into an office, because if you don't, I always say you eat what you kill, and I'm sure you people understand that because if you don't kill the deer, you don't. You know what I mean? So you gotta do the work. So that's what I always say. And you have to be dedicated to doing it because it does come to a point where you really sometimes feel like, "Ah, I'll just do it tomorrow." But you can't do that because if you think about it, it has to be done. You're the business owner. You're the one that's responsible for making it happen.
Absolutely. This is Terry Thompson. He's a senior member of our football team. And he asked, after you were laid off, did you immediately open your own business? And did you ever lose hope if it took you any time to be successful?
Whew. Great question, Terry. No, I did not start immediately. And what I did was, this is gonna sound funny, and I don't even know if you kids still say this, but what I did was I got severance money, which is the money that the company give you for working, for the company for a certain amount of time. So I got my severance money and I quote unquote I balled out. So that means that I enjoyed myself for a little while. I spent some money, I had a good time. And then I came to the conclusion that my money was running out. So I found myself in a position where I had no job, money, and I had no plan. So I had to come up with something really quick. So I said, let me just see what I want to do because I knew I just want to go back to work for a company. So a friend of mine was in the insurance industry and he was making money and doing well. So he said, well, why don't you just try this? And I was like, well, I don't know how to sell anything. I'm not a person that can sell anything. So I went to the meeting and I said, oh, well, this doesn't look like bad. So I worked for this one company. I became the unit manager. And then I said, well, let me just start my own business. And that's what I did. So it took me maybe about a year. And then that's, when I started my own and that I've been doing it ever since.
That's awesome. And that's a great segue to this question. This is Robert Branson. He's a senior, also a member of our football team. And he asked, what was the hardest part of the process of being an entrepreneur? And how did you overcome the setbacks you faced?
So the hardest part is funding. That is key. The money part. Some days, you're like, well, where's the money going to come from? Because anything in sales, you are dependent upon other people, and anything that has to do with commission, it's hard. I remember saying to myself, I've never worked for a company or I never worked in a position where I owed the company money. And what it means is when you're in a commission-based business, especially dealing with insurance, they have such a thing that's called a chargeback. And if the insured does not pay their premium, the insurance company takes the money back that they've already paid you. So you end up in the red. So that means they take back their commission. And so I'm like, I owe them money. How is that? So I remember the first time they did that to me, and I was like, I don't like this. I'm used to getting a check every Friday or every other Friday. So that was a shocker. But once you learn how to balance and plan according to how your pay structure is on a commission, then you'll be able to handle it. But financing part of it, the money part of it, that was the hardest part. So yeah.
Yeah, and especially with COVID now, there's more and more entrepreneurs that work with entrepreneurs. We have another friend of this class in the New York area, and her entire business is she does virtual accounting for women black-owned businesses.
Mhm.
And it's for people that may have a great idea and a great concept, but don't have an accounting background. And she works with them on a one, on a, she's not an employee. She's on a contract basis and manages their books. So
Mhm.
there, especially since COVID, there's never been a better time to find people that can be useful to a company starting out, um, that may not have experience on the money side.
COVID has, I mean, it was a curse and a blessing, I say, because COVID
Yeah.
taught how to pivot and how to do things a different way. Before COVID, we were all just used to going into an office, doing, everything in a brick and mortar from 9 to 5. But when COVID happened, this wonderful thing called Zoom, came about, and we all learned how to work remotely. Who knew that we could do that? We could work, without having to be face to face, with the person. Even with selling insurance, I could see my clients without having to be inside their homes or with them coming to my office and still get paid that way. So it taught us how to pivot, how to do something different. So with her, having to be able to work with her clients remotely and still make money, that's an awesome, So yeah, we had to learn that, we can still make money, still, reach the people that we need to reach, and do it at the same time while we are training and learning and meeting entrepreneurs, and everybody is enjoying what they do. They're getting paid. Everybody's getting paid. So that's the key thing. I remember right when COVID happened, I had just opened uh, a new office, big beautiful office. I had just hired like 15 agents. I was getting ready to have a grand opening celebration. It was in the penthouse of the Hilton. And my business partners that were flying in from California were in the airport. And that's the day that they shut it down. They closed the airports. We're not going to be able to come. I,
Wow.
oh my goodness. So, of course, everything just stopped. But I since learned how to do it differently. But yeah, so anyway, COVID was something, but we've all learned how to adjust. That's why I'm here today with you now, talking to your students and giving them hope that anything is possible.
Exactly. I got time for one more. This is Shirai Luckett. He's a sophomore, and he asked, if you wouldn't have been a paralegal, what were your other career options?
Oh, if I wouldn't have been a paralegal, what would I have been? In high school, I was so good at English. I don't know if I would have been a teacher. My favorite subject in school was English. Even in college, my favorite subject was English. So I don't know. My dad used to always say, "Well, why just stop at paralegal? Why don't you just be a lawyer?" I don't know. Once I started working for them, I was like, I would never be one of those. So no, but yeah, an English teacher perhaps would have been my
That's
career.
all. Well, we're almost out of time, and we thank you so much for joining us. But a couple things before we go. First of all, tell us where to find your website. You've got a ton of resources on there, great videos, a couple presentations that
Mhm.
they can see.
Mhm. Website is www.brendabmyers.com. And don't forget to put that B in between Brenda and Myers, because if you don't, you'll be able to get to me. That's www.brendabmyers.com.
Yeah, and it really is a great website. And like we said, you've got several videos on there of you speaking, some presentations that I think can be very useful for somebody considering entrepreneurship to see some of the things they need to think about. So really encourage everybody to get to that website. But the last thing before we go is, you are from Mississippi. You were a young black girl in Mississippi, just like these kids. I mean, I got mainly guys here with me, but you were a young black kid in Mississippi, just like these kids here, but yet you've become extremely successful. at a time where it wasn't as easy. So obviously it can be done. So what can these kids do now to be just as successful as someone like you? And why does entrepreneurship desperately need them?
Well, so entrepreneurship, well, let me start with the first part. The first part is, you know, being a young Black girl from Mississippi and being successful, it comes from it being instilled in me. It starts with, your parents. My parents instilled in me that you can do it if you have the drive and determination and you have the desire and you want to do it. My dad, he worked hard. He was, from Mississippi Delta, but he had the entrepreneurial spirit in him as well. And so I take after my father. I'm one of 9 kids, and
Wow.
yeah, so I take after my father for one, and I have the passion for it. Uh, but the kids that are in the classroom, you guys have ideas that probably have not been heard of yet. You guys probably have something that the world needs. You probably have something that can be created that could change the world, something that no one has created yet. So don't be discouraged by naysayers. Don't let anybody for you from what you want to do. Follow your dream, and just remember it's your dream. It's not their dream. They might not believe or understand your vision, but it's your vision. It's not for them to understand. So just stay on that path, and you'll make it. I believe in you. You have to believe in you. That's key.
That's awesome. Well, again, we thank you so much for taking some time for us today in your busy schedule. But Brenda Myers, right down the road in Jackson, thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely. It was my pleasure.
All right, talk to you soon, buddy.
All right. Bye bye.